Hi team. The sound of rain is so beautiful. And appropriate for what I want to talk about today. I feel quite depressed. I can't say that I'm in the middle of a major depressive episode. I wouldn't be able to leave the house if I was. But I am feeling quite low. Very flat. And having suffered from severe depression in the past, I've learned to recognise this state. I know it very well, and I'm definitely in that arena. If you've ever experienced depression or low mood yourself, you'll know what I'm talking about, and you'll be able to relate to this feeling. And if you haven't ever suffered from any low mood or depression or any kind of mood disorder, I'm hoping I can explain a little about what it feels like. The purpose of this video is to show a little solidarity with those who are suffering currently, to talk a little about the general culture around mental health at the moment, and I just want to give a little advice and a little perspective from my experience of what helps me the most when I'm going through this, what has helped me to pull myself out from the severe expressions of this in the past, and hopefully offer some techniques as well and some principles to keep in mind if you do suffer with this. So what does it feel like when you feel low? Not just a bit down, but actually starting to drift into the arena of the unwell. Well, Shakespeare said it best, which is, I guess, what he's kind of known for. The bard, my countryman, Shakespeare. In Hamlet, Act 2, Scene 2. I have of late, but wherefore I know not, lost all my mirth. And indeed it goes so heavily with my disposition that this goodly frame, the earth, seems to me a sterile promontory. This most excellent canopy, the air, look you, this brave o'erhanging firmament, this majestical roof fretted with golden fire. Why, it appears no other thing to me than a foul and pestilent congregation of vapours. What piece of work is a man? How noble in reason, how infinite in faculty. In form and moving, how express and admirable. In action, how like an angel. In apprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. And yet, to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Man delights not me. No. Nor woman neither. Though by your smiling you seem to say so. Hamlet, Act 2, Scene 2. A famous soliloquy, that one. So beautifully phrased, so beautifully put. He is speaking of this very disheartening experience of being able to see the world, perceive the world, experience life, and know cognitively on the level of the mind just how beautiful everything really is, and how wonderful it is to be a human, to be able to see all of this and know it is beautiful. I can see this majestical roof. He's speaking of the sky, this majestical roof fretted in golden fire, like a sunset or a sunrise. But not feeling any of the beauty, any of the joy that usually arises from witnessing such incredible, seemingly divine scenes. If you've ever experienced low mood or depression, you'll know that he got it bang on with that soliloquy. The language used is kind of archaic, or it's written in that very old English, and if you don't maybe have the experience with that or the vocabulary, it might seem very poetic and flowery, but the meaning kind of escapes you. What he's saying is that I have of late, but wherefore I know not, which means why I don't know. Lately, why I don't know, but I've lost all my mirth, which means like all your good humour, all your good nature. He's lost his spark, he's lost his energy. And indeed it goes so heavily with my disposition that this goodly frame the earth, and it seems to me a sterile promontory. So it's heavily his disposition, meaning his mood. His mood is so heavy that this incredible frame, the earth, it appears to him just like rock, sterile promontory. It's not fertile ground, it's sterile. It's just rock, it's just a lump of rock. That's just how it looks to him. This most excellent canopy, the air. Look, you, and he points upwards. Look, you, this brave overhanging firmament, this majestical roof fretted in golden fire. So he can see how beautiful it is. Look at this, it's beautiful. And yet, to me, it appears no other thing insignificant. It appears as insignificant as a foul and pestilent congregation of vapours, meaning a stinking mist. That's all he sees. He can see it's a beautiful sunset or sunrise, but to him, in the mood he's in, the disposition he's in, why, it appears no other thing than a stinking cloud of diseased mist. That's all he sees. Pretty intense wording, right? If you know the language he's using, you know what those words mean. That's what he's saying. So it's very strong what he's saying. He's not just saying, I can take it or leave it. He's saying he can see it and it's making him feel sick. It's that bad. It's not just I see it and whatever. He's seeing it and he's like, foul, disgusting, pestilent, meaning diseased, pestilence. Foul and pestilent. Pretty intense, right? What piece of work is a man? What a piece of work is a man? How noble in reason. So he's seen, he understands, like, humanity. Humanity, he can see how amazing humanity is. How incredible our faculties, our ability to think, see, perceive and feel. How noble in reason. In form and moving, so in our movements, how express and admirable. In action, how like an angel. In apprehension, how like a god. That's high praise indeed, especially for the time. That could be considered close to blasphemy to say something like that. So Shakespeare was really going out on a limb to describe it in this way. In apprehension, how like a god. He said man is like a god. The beauty of the world, fairly self-explanatory. The paragon of animals. So paragon means kind of pinnacle, the apex, as good as it gets. The paragon, a shining example. So we could say man is a shining example for the animals, the top of the food chain, right? The paragon of animals. And yet, he looks at himself, what is this? To me, what is this quintessence of dust? Describes the world as dust, which interestingly, in the Hindu texts, they often talk about the maya, the illusory world, and they call it dusty quite often. They say this dry, dusty illusion. In Buddhism, they say the same, this samsara, this maya world, this illusory world, the cycle of suffering. They call it dry and dusty. They say leave this dry, dusty world behind and wake up to the truth, the reality, nirvana, peace. I just thought that was quite interesting. He uses the word dust. What is this quintessence of dust? Man delights not me, meaning he takes no joy in other people now. Man delights not me, no, nor women neither. Man, woman, it just to him, he's taking no joy in humanity at all. Then at the end, that really interesting line, but by your smiling, you seem to say so. What an interesting line that is. To me, that's a clue that the other actor in the play would be smiling at him whilst he talks. And I got a sense that there's a kind of frustration there. Like, why are you smiling? Why do you continue to smile at me? So all of this, he's trying to describe how he feels. It's awful. He can't stand it. He can cognitively understand beauty, life, love, joy, all of it, but he cannot feel it at all. And as he's describing this, I can imagine the other actor grinning back at him. And that's why at the end it said, yeah, but so I'm trying to say, man delights not me, no, nor women neither. But by your smiling, you seem to suggest that I'm still all good, right? Kind of speaks to that weird feeling of like when you're just going through the motions and you're low, you're down, but everyone else is just acting like everything's just normal. So it's curious, strange. So I wanted to run through that, partly to show this thing, depression and low mood disorders, is not new. Shakespeare wrote about it. It's medieval England. And it's been spoken about and written about, this melancholia, this melancholy, this depressed, this heavy disposition. It's been written about since the dawn of recorded time. So don't feel like this is just new. This is a modern problem. It's often framed like that. Oh, it's this modern problem with all this social media, and it's because of all this, and it's because of the state of the world, and we're all isolated and everything. That's what's caused this new modern phenomena of mental health. No. No. This is a fundamental challenge of the human condition. It's been written about in the oldest texts. Literary, religious, spiritual, all of them. In fact, it makes for some of the best stories and some of the most profound spiritual and philosophical works, does it not? So that would be the first thing I would say. That might help you to feel not quite so alone. It certainly makes me feel less alone. Even just learning the soliloquy and going through it, it kind of lightened my mood a little. Because I thought, well, hang on. Not only has this been recognised and explained so well by poets, that's also... it's celebrated. Shakespeare's the greatest playwright that ever lived. And there you go, that's one of his most famous examples of beautiful prose. Right? So don't feel so lonely, or like you're in a very undignified, or weak kind of state. Don't think of it like that. Instead, we can start to see it as this is a recognised phenomena that has affected some of the greatest people that ever lived. Often, they're great because of it, not in spite of it. Look at all the great poets, all the great writers. They will mention it at some point. Some difficulty, some struggle with mood, with feeling heavy and low, everything going grey. I like to speak from my experience where I can. And the first thing that feels kind of relevant is actually to just explain the situation I'm in. And this is why I'm currently going through a bit of a period of low mood. And right away, I've got to say, it's very difficult to make this kind of video for the type of channel that I have and what I'm trying to set myself up as professionally. Because I've set myself up here as kind of a meditation kind of guy, a mental health and spiritual kind of guide, speaking about personal development, how to improve your life, recover from anxiety and depression, and addiction and obesity and all of that, which is what I've done. And yet here we are. And so it's quite difficult to kind of talk very honestly and authentically about this, because there's a part of me that says, no, don't tell them that. Don't tell your audience that. You're supposed to come across like you're fine all the time, right? Which is what most people are doing. We're just fine. Everything's fine. Sure. Okay, then. My point is, it's kind of difficult to speak on this, because I was trying to think, well, how do I frame this? How do I... It feels like it's going to discredit me somewhat if I'm giving all this advice on meditation, how to get through anxiety, stress, low mood and everything, and I'm talking about how good things are when you really get into spiritual awakening and healing and growing and personal development, everything, and yet I'm still going through it at times. But then I thought, well, there's a few reasons why it's a good idea to make this video. One, authenticity and honesty is crucial if you want to recover. It really is. You have to be very in touch with your own inner emotional world and be able to express it. It's crucial. It's crucial. And secondly, transmutation. Even in a low, even going through a hard time, a very difficult time, we can take that hard time, so it's transmutation, an alchemical principle of turning lead into gold. That's the alchemical principle, right? We have the philosopher's stone. We turn lead into gold. So this camera, this nice 4K HD camera that I've got here, is my philosopher's stone right now. It's taking my difficult situation and I'm trying to turn it into something positive. Not only can I get a video out of it, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and don't know, you might think, what's he doing there? Join the channel memberships if you want to help support me in my work and gain access to my exclusive guided meditations and talks. So I can get a video out of it. Also, if I can explain what I've learned from my periods of low mood and my mental health, and I can explain that and package it in a way somebody else can understand, that could be of benefit. People might hear that, see that, and there's a few things that happen. One, some advice might land and it can be actionable, practical advice. It also makes us not feel so alone if we can relate to other people. If you know somebody else is going through it, has been through it, recovered from it, still goes through it, it makes you feel a bit more like you're not completely isolated in this. So there's that. And also I wondered, maybe I can also help those who don't suffer from a mood disorder themselves, but they have a loved one that does, or friends that do, and are struggling to understand quite what to say, what to do, what's going on exactly. It can be very frustrating. It can be quite a heavy burden on those who are trying to support somebody going through it. But I just wanted to explain it's quite hard for me to make this video, and I was in two minds about doing it, but you know what? I got the call. I got the intuition to say, do this one today. Corin, it's good. It's good stuff. To explain my situation, here's why I've ended up low. I have quite a few health problems going on at the moment. If you've been following this channel for a while, I've spoken about them in the past. You might have noticed I have bags under my eyes. I get this eczema under my eyes, and that's flaring up again. I have to put this cream on it that I'm pretty sure is damaging the skin. It's not very pleasant at all. And the cream itself itches, but it's not as bad as the eczema. So that's incredibly irritating. That's one thing. Two, my back pain is flaring up. Really, really quite chronically. And on top of that, I've developed this ringing in my ears, tinnitus. So all of those things together are very uncomfortable. They're getting in the way, they're making it hard to focus, they're making it hard to concentrate on my daily activities. It also makes it very difficult to sleep. So I am sleep deprived right now, and have been for some time. And it's not like this has just started. The difficulties, the increased tension and pressure that I've been experiencing over the last 4 years has taken its toll. Because of the back pain, as well as the other physical stuff that's making it hard to sleep, it's become impossible to do my job as a personal trainer and fitness instructor. And it's always on my mind that I might never be able to get back to it. I spent 10 years working on getting that business off the ground, which also involved an incredible personal journey as well, transforming, to lose all that weight, to get fit, to get healthy, to end my addiction, to recover from anxiety, depression, move my life forwards. And now I'm in a position where it might be that career, it's just not feasible. It's not practical. It's just not realistic thinking it's going to be the way I thought it was going to be, right? That's taken its toll. And so I'm trying to make a living and move forwards with my online stuff, my meditation stuff. So on YouTube, I'm also on Insight Timer, the app. If you use Insight Timer, or you want to hear some of my meditations, go download it. Corin Bryant on Insight Timer. Might help me out, go check it out. You notice I'm managing to weave a few plugs into this? Transmutation, I'm telling you team, it's powerful stuff. It's powerful stuff. Turn lead into gold. Whatever you're going through, there can be a way to turn that lead into gold. Fertilizer and the most fertile soil is that way because of poo. It's poo that makes the best fertilizer, manure. Just saying, so if you're going through the dung right now, if you're going through the poo, then it maybe gives us some idea why we have to go through it, right? Because on the other side of it, we're going to grow some incredible crops. So because I can't really sleep and everything's, I'm very uncomfortable and my ears are ringing, which makes it hard to focus and concentrate. It's actually even becoming difficult to record meditations and make videos and everything else. One of the reasons why videos have been quite rare recently on this channel. Man, man, oh man, oh man. It kind of feels like the world is just encroaching. It's not even just in the external world now. It's gotten right into my ears. It's like in my head. It's like this samsara world, this cycle of suffering, it's actually right in my body now. I'm not even comfortable or at home in my own body. And it takes its toll. So financially struggling, health struggling, not able to see friends, so social is kind of dwindling. Romantically, no prospects. It's kind of hard to date when you're in this situation. Plus I've got a bad back, so it's like, it's kind of hard, it's kind of difficult to, you know, do physical things, if you catch my drift. So, you know, all of that together, no wonder I'm not exactly in the best spirits recently. It's an interesting word we use for that. Spirits, in the best spirits. I just wanted to explain a little about what's going on, so that you kind of know where I'm coming from as I go through the rest of my advice and perspectives. So firstly, can we get gender out of the way on this? Can we get gender out the way? Because for some reason, whenever mental health comes up and is discussed, it very quickly becomes something to do with gender. You say it's like we're in a male depression crisis, male mental health crisis, and male loneliness. You know, it's like men need to do this and do that and everything. We're in you know, like mental health is a male problem at the moment. I find it so strange. Statistically speaking, women are more likely to suffer from mood disorders. Statistically speaking, that hasn't changed. And yet, why does the conversation always focus more on men when we talk about mental health? Or maybe that's just because the algorithm targets me as a man. And I don't know. Maybe it's different. But whenever it comes up, even when I'm speaking to women about it, it will come up at some point about gender. And I just think, can we not just see people as human beings? If we just saw the humanity in each of us and looked past all of our words, all of our labels, all of our concepts, and just deal with the reality of the human being in front of you, it becomes much simpler and much more accurate, much more realistic to what's actually going on in that individual. But when we put gender on things, everything starts to get, people's emotions start running really high, right? It's just, to me, I find it's not fully irrelevant. There's some relevance to it when we're trying to help somebody with their mental health, their gender, and whether man or woman. It's like, what? That's going to have something to it, but it's not the only thing. Why has that become the only thing in the conversation? I think it's not fair on either men or women to just say there's just a male mental health crisis, a male isolation crisis at the moment. I think it's men and women. Women are more likely to suffer a mood disorder. And, you know, it's often said that one thing we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube, right? For reasons that are beyond me, because it's so important. We need to talk about this if we want to get the rates down. But maybe you know the thing I'm talking about. Women actually attempt that more often than men. Not many people know that. They just think, oh, that's just a thing that men do. It's like, no, women attempt that, statistically speaking, more often than men. But you don't see the female mental health crisis, female isolation crisis on the news or on your social media. You just don't see it. That's not fair. It's not fair on women, and it's not fair on men. I think if we just saw each other as human beings, and this depression thing, anxiety and stress being a part of the human condition, not just something that's isolated just to your gender, it's a human issue, not a gender issue, then we're going to start getting somewhere. And the reason I kind of wanted to start well into this video now, the reason I wanted to talk about that is because often the discussion just this is how quickly, it's like you try and bring this up in general chat, and it's always like, oh yeah, mental health, yeah, men get that, and men just need to talk about their emotions. Like, that's it. That's the end of the discussion. It's more complicated than that. As if that's just all it is, right? Because I find it really strange when that's what I get told. You just need to talk about your emotions more. Because I think I do talk about my emotions all the time. And I always have done. I mean, I'm making a career out of it now. I've always talked about my emotions, always have done. And I've still suffered from mental health issues, despite the fact that I'm very vocal, very open. And that tells me, that signals to me, it's more complicated than just you need to talk about your emotions. It's got to be more complicated than that, right? This is a deeper issue than just that. That might be a part of it. It's an element of it. And if somebody is very closed and doesn't speak about what's going on inside, it would be a good idea to encourage them to open up, of course. But that's one facet of what goes into somebody's mental health. On top of that, women suffer from mood disorders more often than men, so statistically speaking, and yet that's not the advice we say to women. We don't say you just need to talk about your emotions more. You know, like the more we look into this, the more, if you think about this stuff deeply and examine it and explore it deeply, this thing, the general cultural narrative about mental health reveals itself to just be odd. It's not helpful often, because it results in most people, if you don't learn about this sort of stuff or introspect on this sort of stuff, people will just download whatever the cultural narrative is. And I hear it all the time and see it all the time. Very surface level, just mental health, men's problem, they just need to talk about their emotions more. And you just don't... We're going to get into it. We'll explore that a little more in a moment. Just to wrap that up, I just find it incredibly patronizing, essentially, and overly simplifying. People aren't seeing me as a human being. They just see a bloke and then say, well, you just need to talk about your emotions more. It's like, well, if you know me and know anything about me, then you'll know that's not one of the things that I struggle with. It's got to be more complicated, more nuanced, and much more individual. Mental health. It's much more individual than just blanket statements. For me, in my experience, and when I speak to other people, if people are suffering from anxiety, stress, and low mood, and any other mental health difficulty, it's usually because life circumstances have become unmanageable. It's usually because something has happened, there's been a crisis, or that feeling of everything's gotten on top of you. It's that feeling. Things just it's in all these different areas. Social, financial, professional, physical health, all of that. When you start to encounter difficulties in lots of these areas, or very severe in one area or another, and the demand on you as a human being is outweighing your resources. It's outweighing your ability to cope. As simple as that. That's it. It's just the demand on you is up here and your resources are down here, and this happens. So this is kind of where I'm at the moment. It's like the demand just increases and increases and your resources dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. Because once you're stuck in that spiral, you have a health setback, and then you can't perform at work or do your self-employed job as well. And so pressures start piling up at work. So you've got health and pressures. And then because of that, the finances start to get a little bit wobbly, and you start to get a bit like, well, how am I going to deal with this then? And then that puts strain and pressure on your romantic relationships, your intimate relationships, and your friendships. And then all of a sudden you get yourself caught in this loop where you're down and struggling, and then it gets very difficult to get yourself back on your feet, because when you started to sink, your energy started to dwindle and your mood started to go, increase in anxiety, increase in stress, and feeling really low. Then you're not able to sleep, and then that makes all the other problems worse. And then because all the other problems are worse, that exacerbates the mental health stuff that you've got going on, and this cycle starts to ramp up. It just gets more and more intense, which obviously is then going to increase your anxiety even more, and we just end up in this slippery slope. You're just sinking and sinking and sinking, and the world just doesn't seem to let up. To me, that is far more common, and also that's far more simple to understand, right? It's not just some mysterious, you just need to talk about your emotions more. It's far more practical than that. In my experience, in my own life, and in when I speak to other people and I try and help people through this, it's usually a far more practical difficulty that somebody is going through. And actually what they need a lot of the time is just some resources. Now, resources could be your financial resources, your physical energy, could be it could just be emotional energy. They need to refill their resources in order to meet the demands that are on them at that time. So often that's the best thing for people, is actually, how best to describe this? My point is, it's not that mysterious. A lot of the time, and this is something I wanted to say in this video, a lot of the time it's not complicated and it's not mysterious. Obviously, as a spiritual YouTuber and a meditation YouTuber, I'm tempted to always frame everything as a spiritual problem. It's not always a spiritual problem. It could just be that you've hit hard times, and as a human being, there are certain limitations, there are certain finitudes, where if there's more demand on you than you're able to meet, you are going to suffer emotional and mental health issues. That is just straight up common sense. It's not always a deep, dark psychological thing. It's not always a mysterious spiritual thing, even though we're tempted to frame it in that way. Sometimes it's just a bit of a far more mundane. Mundane is probably the word I'm after there. Far more mundane, far more standard life circumstance issue. So that's the first piece of advice I want to really give, is just straight up, if you're going through it, you're really struggling, really suffering, just double check, like first, like before you go to the complicated stuff, is it actually just something in my environment? You can just go like back to basics, and back to basics is a really powerful principle. I always go back to it. If I'm starting to feel low or anxious or stressed, I just always check, is my sleep okay? Am I sleeping okay? Am I eating enough and eating the right foods? Am I getting some exercise? Am I seeing friends? Am I drinking enough water? You know, am I in touch? Am I grounded? Am I centered? And if any one of those things isn't there, that's the thing to rectify first. And there you go. It's like right away, it's like, right, let's just double check circumstances, see where you're at. And often you'd look at your circumstances and just be very honest with yourself about what's going on and how things have been for you. Don't worry about what anyone else has to say about it. Just check it in with yourself. How are things for me? Am I happy with work? Not with everyone saying, you should just be grateful because you've got a job that anyone would kill for. And it's like, well, just check in with yourself and just be like, well, actually, but I'm experiencing the reality of this, and actually I'm not enjoying that job. Something like that. Rather than just trying to tell yourself everything's fine and grit your teeth and get through it and stiff up a lip and everything's fine, right? Everybody just agree that everything's fine. Instead of doing that, just be realistic, be honest with yourself, And often there's a huge sense of relief that comes from that, because you realise, oh, actually, maybe I'm not suffering another bout or another episode of my mental health. It could just be that work sucks. It could just be, I'm broke, I can't pay some of my bills. It could be, for some reason, some of my friends have been being all weird and now they've gone all distant. That's kind of strange. Just check, you're like, the people around you, are they being supportive? Are they connecting with you? Are they conscious individuals around you? Or are they all very unconscious, very negative, very low energy people? Because if you're surrounded by people like that, it's only a matter of time until they drag you down with them. It's just worth checking. What's your circle like? Your close inner circle? Positive, conscious, healthy individuals? Or toxic, negative, energy-draining mood hoovers? Just double check. It's worth checking. So, perhaps it's just more practical. If you are the sort of person who finds it hard to open up and express, my take on that, you've probably developed that as a kind of survival strategy in itself. Because in the past, when you've tried to open up about stuff, it was probably two people who weren't the right people to speak to about your mental health and about your emotional well-being. That's very common. And just to kind of highlight what I mean by that, I have really good friends who I consider best friends who I wouldn't open up to about my emotional health. I wouldn't run it by them. Why? Because it's not really in their wheelhouse. They've never experienced it themselves. They've never gone through it. They don't know anyone that's gone through it. They're not interested in it particularly, and that's fine. It's just not part of their individual expression of life. It's just not come up for them. So I love them. I love them as people. I love being around them. I consider them best friends. And yet, I probably wouldn't talk about some of how I'm feeling or some of the deeper, darker stuff with them. If I'm, talk about some of my family struggles, what I've gone through in terms of the emotional mistreatment in the past and stuff, just wouldn't open up to certain people about that, even though they're good friends. And that might seem like, well, wait, what? That doesn't make sense, right? But then you look at it a bit deeper and you go, no, that does make sense. Some people just don't get it, and that's fine. There are other people that do get it, either through their own personal experience or through their professional training, or they just happen to be very empathetic, very empathic, very considerate, very compassionate people who have the ears and ideas that can receive what it is that you're trying to say and communicate, and they can help you to process, to manage, and they can offer up ideas and solutions if that's appropriate, or just be a shoulder to cry on. Just the point is, if you're going to open up, it has to be with someone who's going to get it. Somebody who has their individual expression of being is compassionate, empathic, and well-resourced, that they can field it. Because for me, nothing feels worse than when I try to open up to someone and they are invalidating, they're negative about it, they're judgmental, they tell you people can only ever speak from their frame of reference. And if they've not been through it themselves, or have close experience with it, it's just unlikely. They might even be trying. This is where it gets nuanced. Let's get into the weeds here, team. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. Sometimes people are trying to help, but they don't know how. They don't speak the language, and people can only refer back to their own frame of reference. So that gives rise to this phenomena happening. Have you ever been really starting to go through an episode of the disorder that you struggle with? It's like, I really do think I'm starting to go into an episode of depression. I'm feeling really like I can barely function, and somebody says, why don't you go for a walk? Why don't you have a bubble bath? Why don't you just get on with it? As it, like, that's it. Go see a funny movie. Go see a funny... It's like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that. As if. This is above the pay grade of going to watch Dodgeball, right? It's a good film. But it's not... That's not what I'm going through right now. And the reason for this is because what somebody is referring to when they're trying to give that as advice is that when they feel a bit sad or they're feeling a bit anxious, going for a walk, having a bubble bath, watching a funny movie helps them. Because of course it does. Because what they go through is just garden variety feeling a bit sad or a bit worried about something, and therefore garden variety activities are the appropriate thing to alleviate that. Fine, perfect. So that individual with the garden variety stuff going on, when they hear somebody come to them and say, I'm depressed, I'm feeling anxious, the words that they're hearing aren't what you're trying to communicate. What you're trying to communicate is you're going through a bout of a mental health crisis, but all they can hear is, well, I feel sad sometimes, I feel worried sometimes, and so here's the things I do. It's just simple. It's a miscommunication, a mismatch of energies. You have to realise when you're speaking to anyone, do they speak the language? And also, are they trying to meet me where I am? And if you find that they don't speak the language and they're not trying to meet you where you are, they're not interested in you communicating exactly what's happening for you, that's fine. Don't try to make them understand. They're not going to get it. They're just not. It's far better to spend that energy seeking out and sourcing the people who do get it. Trying to make your existing connections understand what you're going through is a massive waste of your resources. Whereas using those resources to seek out some people who might get it is a far better use of your energy. That could mean go to the doctors. That could mean, and not, you might not be going to the doctors because you're just saying, hey, doc, give me a bunch of pills so I can feel better. Most people don't want to do that. And most doctors don't want to do that either. But they can signpost you to the services that are going to help. Talking therapies, counselling, support groups. Or even that it might just be they say, right, this individual's in crisis, we need to get them some more practical support, and they can put you in touch with housing services, social services, right? To try and get a bit more support than you're already getting, okay? So the energy is best going into the right places rather than trying to force it into the wrong places. Because you find that when you start putting your resources into the right places, things change. Things changed for me all those years ago. We're looking like 11 years ago now, when I first went to the doctor. When I first went to the doctor, was very honest about what was going on with me, my problems with alcohol, my problems with anxiety, depression, all of that. And from the moment I sat in the doctor's office and chose to talk to the doctor about what was going on, things changed. And from there, it's not like it was all just sunshine and rainbows immediately, but the process had begun. I did cognitive behavioural therapy, of course, that it really helped. I did talking therapy, more traditional counselling, it really helped. I did self-help methods, addictive voice recognition technique for the alcohol. I just started, I started becoming serious about recovery, taking it seriously, because Lord knows nobody else was. I had to do it myself, and that's going to be crucial. Because you have a PhD in you, right? You know what makes you tick. You know how your inner emotional world works and functions. That's the authority. Go by that. Start where you are. Do what you have. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can, is the phrase I was trying to reach for there. Not rocket science on that. right? Moving into more of the... One of the things that's massively helped me with all of my issues is meditation. And you might think, hang on, Corin, if meditation's so helpful to you and this spiritual awakening thing you talk about has been so helpful to you and all your stuff, how come you're in a low place right now? Shouldn't you be free of all of that? But the way that the things that stand out to me as confirmation and affirmation that meditation and spirituality is a permanent shift in your emotional positive, a positive permanent shift in your emotional well-being, is that right now, despite the fact I'm in a fairly low mood, I might not look it, right, but I've just gotten very good at masking it, essentially. One of the things the meditation helps with is, because I'm very present, because I'm able to just be the awareness of what's happening rather than claustrophobically constrained and stuck within the narrative of what's happening, I'm much more functional than I would be if I'd never found meditation. I'm still able to get up, to move, to get out, and despite all the health conditions that I've got going on, because I can just stay very present with things in the present moment and not get lost in thoughts of future or past and just remain in the here and now, I'm able to do things one moment at a time. I'm not thinking about all that work I've got to go and do. Nope, I'm just thinking about driving the car. That's it. That's kind of how it works. I'm not thinking, what am I going to do about my future, my career, years. It's like my brain starts to go there and then I just bring it right back into the present moment. Nope, I am not going down that train of thought. I'm just going to remain in the present, fully here, fully now. And this presence, and through like the seated formal meditations, when I can just sit in formal meditation and find some inner peace, that gives me respite from the psychological suffering that I will be encountering day by day by day. But by being sat in formal meditation, being able to find some inner peace, it gives me a fallback position, a refuge that I can go and abide within. I can go and live there in formal meditation to just reset, recenter, refocus, and recognize every day is a new day. This moment is the only moment there will ever be. And that, although it doesn't completely transform my mood, it's not like I suddenly leap up and start go dancing around, but it does just, it takes some of the pressure off and it takes the edge off of the horrible thoughts and emotions that, if left unchecked, gather momentum in the mind. So what is the meditative approach here? Like when you're in this period, you come into your meditation, it's like, so I'm here in the present moment, but the present moment sucks. I'm physically very uncomfortable, psychologically very uncomfortable. So how's meditation going to help me there? Well, it comes down to a level of acceptance. Just accepting these sensations. And herein lies the transformative power. You find that, oh, I can be consciously aware that this body is kind of uncomfortable and this mind is very, I guess the best way to say it, very reactionary. It's very volatile at the moment because I'm in such a kind of heightened state. Just very aware that my thoughts are very reactionary, my emotions are very reactionary. And it's a horrible thing to just realise, hang on, I don't think I'm thinking all that straight currently. You've got to like really take a step back and just be like, right, remember you're up against it so that you're not just like rushing around, because that's when accidents happen and mistakes happen. So if you can just slow it all down, just realise, right, I'm in a difficult state, I'm in a difficult space, just... And then accepting in the present moment, just fully, just not trying to push it away. It's like, when I say accepting, it's to bring it towards, to bring it close, to allow it to be there. Because there used to be a period of time where I was like, no, I can't be going through anxiety, I can't be going through low mood, I can't be going through stress because I can't cope when things get like that. But that pushing away is a repression and an avoidance of the truth of what's actually going on for you. So in meditation, it can help you to bring you closer to your inner emotional world. Bring it close, embrace it, welcome it, befriend it. Sounds paradoxical, I know, but we can actually, that's where the healing is found. That's where the healing is found. In just accepting and allowing, and there's just a release that happens as you realise this is temporary. This is far worse than this has been and gone before in my life. This too shall pass. It's a temporary state that soon will also disappear over the horizon and will be in the next phase. But it's crucial to have these contemplative, reflective periods of time throughout your day where you can do that, touch base with yourself, just check in. What is my inner emotional world? Am I trying to resist what's happening now? Am I trying to avoid what's happening now? Or have I developed this relationship with my inner emotional world where I can say, yes, you are welcome, you are loved, you are free to be here, you have my energy, you have my attention. And in that space, in meditation, that's when all of the good stuff can start to activate. Everything you've learned through counselling, therapy, all of your techniques, all of your journaling and everything, it happens in the meditative state. It happens within that space. So, a big part of what my advice is, if you are suffering with mood disorder of some sort, meditation. I really mean it. You might think, I don't know how that can work for me. Well, just try it and just get started. And you'll see. It worked for me. And like I say, you might say, yeah, but you're still in a state of low mood. It's like, well, for one, this is not going to turn into a major depressive episode because I've learned enough stuff and I've developed enough to realise what's happening and there's a way forwards. Two, it's not nearly as severe because it's I can still function, I can still put the right things in place. And three, through this deep contemplative introspection, we can even start to ensure that this difficult time still has meaning, still has value, it still has purpose for us. Whenever you're in a low and going through a difficult time, we can't help but ask some very deep questions. And to me, that's a clue as to why we have to go through this. We often think, well, why? If God is all loving and all kind, why would I go through periods of suffering? When I go through really dark times, very difficult times, that's what triggers the deepest of my philosophical introspections and starting to really get to grips with what is this thing? What is it to be a human? What is this experience of a human life? Right? It's a very profound and meaningful time when you go through a period of suffering. It's significant. Those who will not slip beneath the still surface on the well of grief, turning down through its black waters to the place we cannot breathe, will never know the source from which we drink, the secret water, cold and clear, nor find in the darkness glimmering the small round coins thrown by those who wished for something else. A poem called The Well of Grief by David Whyte, and it speaks to this going through a very difficult time, you're falling into the well of grief, essentially, and finding there in the dark, this secret water, cold and clear. That's what it kind of feels like. It's dark, but it's cold and it's clear. There is a type of wisdom the small round coins thrown by those who wished for something else. The wisdom found here is what provides the value in your activities outside of one of these periods of darkness. When things go into the next phase, the wisdom learnt from the periods of downtime will come to fruition. After all, everything I've been through over the last 11 years has resulted in me being able to sit here and do this video now. Right? I wouldn't have been able to do that 11 years ago. And it's only through experiencing and overcoming some very dark, difficult, challenging periods of time of intense suffering that it's resulted in the expression of being that I enjoy now. There must be something in that, which isn't to say that it's like, oh, we should like look forward to periods of suffering. You can't. It's not how it works. When you're up, you're up. When you're down, you're down. Right? And when you're only halfway up, you're neither up nor down. As the famous nursery rhyme says. Remarkably profound. The point is, what's the deeper messaging? You're being shown something. And sometimes we can only get shown something when we are at the bottom of the well of grief. It leads us to the deepest questions of what is this? Why would I go through such difficult periods of time? Sometimes you might see it as like, is this a test? Is God testing me? Is this a test of my mettle? Like a kind of exam of some sort? Or maybe this is a period God has sent to strengthen me. Is this a trial by adversity? Does this strengthen me? Is this pruning me? Is a phrase that's sometimes used. It's like cutting off the dead heads, the dead wood, right? Am I going through this difficult time as a thing of strengthening me up? Or perhaps I'm being punished. That's quite a dark take on things, but there's a lot of systems of belief and religion that speak about that. Maybe I'm being punished for my karma. Maybe it's dark karma from a previous lifetime that's now I'm having to churn through that in this one. Or maybe this is punishment for my sins. For I haven't repented enough for my sins, and so I'm going through this. Maybe that's how you want to frame it. Personally, I think that's pretty dark, but, some people might think of it that way. And other times we might just say, well, something along the lines of the philosophy of you can't have the day without the night. If you want the rainbow, you have to put up with the rain. Personally, I think it might be a mix of all the above. Just a little bit of everything. Could be one, could be another, could be all of them, could be one or two. I don't know. But it's always crucial to go to your experience. Don't go to a concept that's been taught to you by a spiritual teacher or a philosopher. We're searching through all these texts and watching the videos and hearing the talks, like searching for, so what is the meaning? Well, go to your experience. Go to your experience of suffering. Who was it that said? Samsara is nirvana. Meaning this cycle of suffering, ultimately, when it's seen with the true light of true wisdom, you realize it is the peace that you're seeking. The observer and the observed are one. Or as Jesus said, I and the Father are one. That's the true wisdom that's found here. The only way out is through. So maybe it's worth taking that deep introspective look and seeing what is the lesson to be learned here. For me, the deepest and darkest times have resulted in the greatest insights, intuition and wisdom. But it's also when I'm at my most open. It opens the mind and it opens the heart because you become much more willing to hear alternative options. You're only going to be open, you're only going to open your heart and your mind when your closed heart and mind aren't serving you any longer. They're not working. It's a case of realizing, right, the way I've been doing things doesn't work because I've ended up here. And it's during one of those dark moments that you'll have your aha. In the dark night of the soul brightly flows the river of God. It's St. John of the Cross wrote that. It's when your closed heart and mind have led to the circumstances that have put you down again. You realise something about this doesn't work. Something about this doesn't add up. And that's when you open your heart and mind to search for something new. And for me, that's why. That's why we have to go through it. It forces a shift in perspective. And that force in a shift in perspective is a blessing. It's there to help you. It's not there to destroy you. It's there to strengthen you. It's there to enlighten you. It's there to give you wisdom and knowledge, gnosis, true gnosis. I think that's about everything for today, team. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Join channel memberships if you want to help me out. Like I say, things are real tough for me right now, financially, everything. So if you want to hit the channel memberships, that'd help me out a lot. Or you can also hit the super thanks and donate if you're feeling generous. Go check me out on Insight Timer as well. Free meditation app, most popular meditation app in the world. I'm on there as Corin Bryant. I do live streams on there too. That's everything for today, team. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, be well, and stay present.